All right, welcome everybody to my tutorial on how to DJ for somewhat beginners. Yeah, let's jump into it. I don't want to take too much time, and I think the best way to teach this is to do it by example. Okay, so first I'll go ahead and briefly go over the layout. This is the Pioneer DDJ 400 DJ controller, and it uses the Rekordbox software that you plug this into your computer, and then Rekordbox is the software on your computer. I've got my screen recording going. Hopefully it doesn't slow down the computer and make it sound bad, but we'll see. Basically, I will hopefully layer the screen recording on top of this real life recording, so that way you can see what's going on both here and there on the computer. So, yeah, the left and the right are luckily the exact same thing, because these are where your songs are played. These are kind of the analog of turntables, right? Back in the day, you'd have your two record players, and then you'd put them into the mixer in the middle, which is just what is used to, mix the songs. So these two faders here are the volume faders for each individual channel. This is the crossfader, although I wouldn't recommend beginners to really mess too much with it, just because this accomplishes kind of the same thing, just using these two. So I just make sure that's centered, or whatever. And then, other than that, I'll kind of get into what these knobs are as we go into it. So the first important knob is the top one here, which we'll use to select our playlist. So I'm going to click it, and now we're selecting our songs. If I click it again, we can jump in and out of our playlists. So I'm going to go to this one, and these are just folders of music I have on my computer that I drag into the software. So we'll go ahead and we're gonna load up this song. So this is the load button for the left deck. This is the load button for the right deck. And I'll go ahead and load this one up too. So now we're good to go. Yeah, so if we're ready to start, we can just hit play pause on the left and we will get going into it. But before I jump into mixing, I guess, I'll kind of explain the important things about the platters here. I think that's what they're professionally called, platters. But I like to think of them as just the turntable. So I'll play the first song, and we've got our volume up here. We can see that there is audio coming in, so we can hear the song playing. It's kind of quiet because it's the beginning of the song anyway. Plus, it's coming out of my laptop speakers, so let's just hope that it'll get picked up by my camera here. So, play pause does just that. This is, although it's not physically spinning, you can kind of think of it and imagine it as it is spinning. And so if I put my hand on here, it will stop the song, and you can scratch and stuff with it. And when I release, it plays the song, right? Simple, similar to a turntable. Just stop the record, play the record. If you want to adjust it slightly, like nudge it forward or backward, you can just touch the side and turn it that way, and it doesn't stop it. And this will be more useful for when we're beat matching and making sure our beats line up when we're mixing from one song to the other. So the Q button is another important button, and this acts like a bookmark. So if I'm playing the song and then I just tap the Q button, it will jump back to the Q point. And by default, it's at the beginning of the song. So maybe for some reason you want to put a Q point right here. So I'm going to scrub forward to the spot where I want to put my Q point, and then I will just hit the Q button while the track is paused. Now we've set a new bookmark. And so we're playing, jump to the bookmark. You can also press and hold the Q button, and it will play the song until you let go, and then it jumps right back to that bookmark. So it's kind of cool. Now, I don't know if you can read it, but this highlighted button says Hot Q. And so these buttons are in hot cue mode, although there are a bunch of other modes. Hot cue is the only one I'll talk about for this tutorial. So for hot cue mode, this one's already lit up, so we already have a hot cue, and it's the same thing as this cue, but you can have 8 of them now, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So if I'm playing through the song and I want to add a marker, I can just hit that, and now I've got another bookmarker. And then if I press this, it'll jump back to that marker, but you'll notice it's still playing. It's kind of different from this cue button here. And you can change the settings on how these behave in the Rekordbox settings, so I won't get too detailed into that, but you can have up to 8 of these cues to mark important sections of the song, and you can jump between them, and as long as you press and hold, it will play the song, and then you can tap the play button, and there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this because it was just for show. This is the tempo knob, or fader, sorry. So the fader slows it down, speeds it up. It's kind of backwards. You slow down by pushing up, and then you speed up by pulling down. But it's used for beat matching. And you can see on the screen that I pointed to, but you can't see where I was pointing. But it says 118 in that little spinning circle. So this song on the left is 118 BPM. The song on the right says it's 120 BPM. And so what we want to do is we want to match those together. So what I'll probably do is I'll just bring this 120 as close to the 118 as I can. Sometimes you'll get off, like see we're at, let's see. There we go, I got it right on the nose. Sometimes you'll get a slightly off. It'll be like 118.05 or something. As long as you're close, you're fine. So now that our tempos are the same, we are ready to mix if we wanted to. So I've already got a hot cue set up on this song because that's the spot that I wanted to mark for where I want to start mixing. And so when I press it, you can see we've jumped to it. So we're all set up, we're centered and ready to go on where we want to mix into this song from. So now, an important thing of mixing is your phrasing. So you can you don't want to mix in the middle of a phrase, right? If the chorus is playing, you don't want to kill this song in the middle of the important part. And so you can kind of see we're kind of building up a little bit. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, house music is easy to mix in and out of, which is why I chose this as a tutorial. And actually, while I'm thinking of it, let me go to this one, because this track, I'm gonna go ahead and pause that one so I can think. But this track, it's just a simple beat. So this one's really good for trying to beat match. So I'm gonna bring it to the beginning where I wanna start mixing from, and then we'll pretend that this one's still going. And you'll see that now they're both at 118 BPM, so that's good. And I'll go ahead and I'll explain these knobs here. So the EQ knobs, this cuts out, there are 3 of them. This cuts out the high frequencies, or it boosts them. This is the mid, so take out the mid, or boost the mid. This is the low, take out the low, boost the low. This, and same thing on this side. This is the trim knob. I usually leave them at about 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock, just because it's just how loud the song is coming into your mixer. So you don't want this getting really high up into the red. So I'm gonna keep it at 12 o'clock for both of them. Now if you find that you're like, oh, I need a little more volume, you can crank this up. But if you go too high and you blast it through big speakers, you can kind of hear the distortion. So that's why anywhere from 12 to 2 o'clock is good for these. Anyway, this is the filter knob. So if you go this way, you'll go to the LPF, which is low pass filter. If you go this way, you're in the high pass. So that's what that's for. And then the Q button here is different from these Q buttons. That's kind of its own topic. This just like routes it to your headphones. So if you wanted to press this and listen to that song without sending it out to the main speakers, the Q button there will allow you to listen to that song in your headphones without hearing it. So we've just kind of come into the chorus of this first song. So I'm gonna let it play for a little bit, and then once these drums cut out, I'll go ahead and fade in the drums of the second song. So what I'll probably end up doing is, I'll probably, towards the end of this phrase, I'll cut the low end of the first song that's playing, and that way we've left room for the low end of the drums over here so that they can come in and start taking the prominence, right? Because low end will clash. It'll make your mix muddy if you have way too much low end. It'll just, that's kind of the only way I can explain it, and it's something that you'll just have to hear with your ears. But yeah, so I'd recommend cutting out the low end when you're starting to mix, or cut out the low end of the song that you're mixing into, and then you can switch them. So that's probably what I'll do. So now I'm just gonna wait for a good, for the end of this phrase, which would be a good time for me to mix into the second song. So I'm just vibing right now. I feel like that'd be a good spot. Now, you'll notice on the computer that the bar lines are not exactly lined up. And so if I jog this forward a little bit, now we're out of beat even more with the second song. If I jog it this way, now we've lined up. That's something you can do by ear with practice, so you don't need to rely on the computer. But as a beginner, if you see maybe the tempos aren't exactly lined up, right? If I slightly slow this one down, over time you'll see them start drifting apart, so you'll have to adjust this to keep them in sync. Which, oh, sorry, it's muted, you can't even hear the difference. But see, if they're apart, it sounds bad. So you want to keep them as close as you can. And again, it's something that with practice you can do by ear. So I'm going to nudge it a little bit because we're starting to get it. Oh, I accidentally touched it, so I stopped it. Remember, make sure you're always on the side. So now I have to just let go. And then just jog the side. There we go. Sorry, it's hard for me to do this while I talk. So, and now you can just fade out if you want of the first song. And there we go. I mean, now we're vibing on this song. And I see the tempo is quite far off. You want to get your tempo as close as possible so they don't drift like that too much, so you don't have to constantly adjust with the side thing. Now, okay, if you are a super duper beginner, you could use the sync button up here. People will be like, oh, real DJs don't use the sync button. Let me tell you, as somebody that's done this for a while, the sync button comes in a lot of handy if you need to do something really quick. You can just press the sync button and it'll automatically sync up the tempos of the songs that you are playing. But we've already gotten pretty close using the tempo faders, so I'm not gonna need to do that. Now, also, there are multiple other ways to mix out of songs. So I'm gonna keep playing the first one, jump to my beginning of the second one using the hotkey that I had set. I'm gonna kill the lows on the second one, trigger it in, line it up. Sometimes you might not hit it exactly on the beat, but no worries. And then I'm gonna swap the low end like this. That way, boom. So now we got that second song coming in. Then I'm gonna actually just slowly high pass it out, just for a cool little effect. And then just kill it, boom. And then we can pause it, and now we're into the next song. We have just successfully done a transition. And now we're vibing to this song. And then notice I like to reset my stuff, right? But yeah, you can mix in and out of songs however you want. Sometimes you might want to kill the song slowly with each individual channel. You might also, I'll briefly talk about the effects. So the effects, all right, it's this section here. So this button, this switch, it'll tell you which deck your effect is going to go on. So it's on 1. If I slide it in the middle, now we're on 2, so now it's going to affect this one. Or if I put it on master, it'll affect both of them. So I just want number 2 because that's what's playing right now. This is the volume level. I like to leave it in the middle because that's just like a good happy medium. And then when I turn this on or off, you can hear it's starting to echo. And if I kill the volume, it echoes out. So that's a really fun way to transition. That's something else you can do besides just the plain old switcheroo or the filter. You know, the whole point is be creative, find different ways to transition out of songs, make it smooth, have fun with it. You can select how fast it echoes with the beat button. So right now we're on like, if I do that, now it's on half of a beat. So it's a lot quicker. If I do it like this, it's a lot longer, more space in between the echoes, and it takes longer to fade out. And then that's pretty much it. So I like to keep it on like 1. You can see up on the screen at the like top left, you can see the 1, and now it's up to 2, now it's 4, now it's down to 3/4, 1/2, 1/4. You can do really weird echo effects. If you want to change the effect from echo, let me put it back on 1, then you can use this button and you can have a bunch of other effects. There are tons of them. And then you use shift on either side and you can go back up and select your echo. I like echo. It's very versatile, very fun. It's a good little way to transition out. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Another thing I'll mention is the looping. So these orange buttons are your looping. So if I press this, now we are at the beginning of our loop. And then if I go forward, you can either go forward by manually doing it or just play it. So I'll actually start right here. And if I hit that button, we've now looped from the in to the out. That's pretty much that. And so now if I play it, you'll see on the screen, we're just gonna loop whatever section I had defined. You can press shift and click it. And now you can, sorry, never mind, ignore what I just said. I'm not gonna go too deep into that. But now we're just looping this little section. So this can also be used to get out of a song at a certain spot. And then you can press this button to exit the loop. And then you can re-loop by pressing it again. Okay, yeah, I think that's good for a little beginner tutorial. It didn't run too long, almost 20 minutes. But now what I'll do is I'll do one more mix for you, and I'm not gonna talk. I'll just let you see what's happening. So I'll keep playing this one, and I'll mix into this one. So I've loaded it up on that one, and I'm gonna go to my hot cue point where I want to start. So we're good to go. I'll set the cue just for the heck of it. And now I'm gonna speed this one up slowly, because if you speed it up too fast, then the crowd will notice that they'll notice, oh, it's kind of speeding up now. And you can use that if you want to your advantage. But if people are dancing, typically you don't want to speed it up too drastically, otherwise they'll just start having to dance faster and it throws them off a little bit, in my experience, or in my opinion, if I was dancing. I'm gonna mix out using the filter. So I kind of combined these two. You can do whatever you want. And now we're into the next song and we're vibing. And you can also, you don't have to mix that quickly. You can have them both playing at the same time for quite some time, as long as the tempos match or you're adjusting. My computer's definitely lagging a little bit. You can kind of hear it. But see, they're both playing. We've made a new sound. I'll echo out of the second one. But again, it's all about phrasing. So you gotta wait for the right moment. That was alright. I kind of changed my mind halfway through. So be confident in what you do, and you'll have a lot of luck. Thank you for watching. Oh, sorry, I bumped the camera. I hope this was helpful. I might do maybe like a little, just like a POV view of me mixing, and I won't commentate over it, but you can kind of see some of the things that I do now that you understand what each button does. And I might also do a video on the headphone stuff as well, but that might be a little later, because that's its whole thing. I might have to like actually write a script for that, because this was okay, but I probably should have at least gone with a script, because this is the second time I've recorded this. I messed up on the first one. But thank you for watching once again, and have fun making people dance and enjoying. This is DJing to me is just like a very interactive way to listen to music, and that's what I really like about it. So cool.